How can an individual stop being insecure in a relationship?
All right. So insecurity is a personal issue, right?
Yes.
So if you're insecure in a relationship, this has to be a work that you do on yourself. We're going to be like a broken record when we talk about all of these things.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. But so many of the issues in marriage is because people don't want to take personal responsibility for the relationship. They think they just don't want to take personal responsibility for their own life, but it's really, you don't want to take responsibility for this relationship working out. That's why you keep blaming the other person and projecting your insecurities on your partner. So one of the things that we can do to rectify that issue is taking responsibility for our lives and the relationship, that we have to figure out how to fix this. We have to figure out how to grow beyond our insecurities for the relationship. One of the things that you can do to grow past your insecurities is become aware of what they are, which is not easy. It's not easy to become aware of what your insecurities are because there's something that are usually protected by you. No one was like, I'm insecure about this. We're not celebratory about our insecurities. We're really private and protective of those things because I think deep down we know that it makes us feel a certain way.
Don't you think that sometimes we are almost lying to ourselves because we don't want to face whatever we're insecure about? I find that to be true in my life. I will go around issues or I won't address the issue because it's scary to address. I think that's why we're unaware of our insecurities, because we're fearful of addressing them. And we might not even know that we're fearful, but we just have gotten used to being like, oh, I just kind of skirt by that issue and I blame it on somebody else, or I pick something to be the problem instead of me addressing the issue. How can somebody become aware of their insecurities? How can they first catch that they're insecure about something? And then how can they become aware of what it is?
One of the ways that you can become aware that you're insecure about something is there's one way where your partner reveals that to you. So your spouse or whoever you're in a relationship with is able to communicate an area that they perceive that insecurity. And how you do this without it becoming a fight, becoming something that you get defensive of, is you initiating the desire for your spouse or your partner to initiate that conversation and point that thing out to you. That's a great way, because hopefully if the relationship is semi-safe, then you can have that person point that out and you're not going to immediately get defensive. You're not going to immediately go to a hurt position.
Yes.
You know, where you're just now attributing malice on the part of your partner for pointing that thing that is a deep issue, pointing that out to you because you think that they're trying to get one over on you, or they're trying to have some sort of attack vector to win over you in your communication.
That's really good. I think that the way you come at it matters so much, or else you're going to scare that person away and they're not going to be able to look inside themselves and see what the insecurity is. And also, that's how I find my insecurities, is when I get defensive, not because you're pointing something out, but just from something that you've said or somebody has said. And all of a sudden I feel defensive. And I realize, okay, this isn't their problem. This is my problems. Why am I all of a sudden like ready for a fight, or ready to defend myself, or ready to make excuses? Why am I all of a sudden up in arms? Because I didn't clarify with them if they have an issue with me. I'm the one that's defensive right now. And then I'm able to kind of go deeper and be like, why do I feel this way? And then usually I get to an insecurity, which I don't want to see, but
it's much,
I find it.
It's much easier to accept criticism or critique if you ask for it. Like if you're the one putting yourself out there to the public, if we're putting stuff on YouTube and we're saying, tell us what you think. Tell us what you think. That's super important to me, that I know what the audience says. Part of this show is us coming together to answer people's questions. Right now, we're curating a lot from the internet, and we're really trying to just pull from conversations that people are having online and taking that into our conversations that we're having on this podcast. But eventually, we want to be answering people's questions, which is bringing them into the conversation and saying, please tell us if you think this is correct, if you think this is right. What's your opinion on this? You're inviting that. And it's so much easier when they say, I think you're dead wrong. I think this is the answer. And you're like, oh, but I asked for it.
Yes.
So it stings much less if you're going to the person that you're in a relationship with and saying, point this out to me.
And it's going to be freeing when you do ask those questions.
Yeah.
Because what you'll find is a lot of times the person is not attacking you.
Yeah.
Like they were just asking a question or they were just stating something that they noticed and they weren't thinking of you in a negative light at all, but you perceived it that way.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden were like, oh, they think this, and this bad thing about me. That's why they made that statement. Or that's why they're asking me this question.
Yeah.
Well, if you feel that way and you're close enough with that person, ask them.
Yeah.
Did you mean this by what you asked? And then they're probably going to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just be like, okay. And then you can still take the time to look into yourself and see, why did I feel that way about that statement or that question?
Another way to stop or try to work past, I like that more because it's hard to stop something that's just a part of who you are. To work past insecurities in a relationship is do things out of your comfort zone. Do things that are in direct violation of your insecurities.
That's
that
good.
Everything about who you are and your insecurities says, don't do this. Do those things. Put yourself in those scenarios. I love something that I heard from Jordan Peterson when he used to work with people that had phobias. What he would do was exposure therapy. So he would expose people to the things that they were afraid of. And what's so interesting about that, that's not the part that I found interesting. It was the fact that he said the people that were exposed to the things they were afraid of didn't become less afraid of the things that they were getting exposed to. They were becoming braver to face the things that they were being exposed to. So their bravery was going up. Their fear wasn't diminishing. And
that is true.
I don't know why, but that really stood out to me and it really was freeing for me. I don't have any particular phobias, but I have insecurities.
Yeah.
And I have things that I'm afraid to expose to the public, to the outside world.
Yeah.
And knowing that I don't have to stop that fear. I don't have to crush that fear. I just need to get brave enough to overcome it. Brave enough to step out there, even though I'm afraid. It's okay. I can see, that's the thing. I think a lot of people, especially with their insecurities, wait for their insecurities to disappear before addressing them.
And then they never do.
And then they never do because you think you need to be perfect or you need to have some sort of victory over these things before you can walk in security.
Yeah.
And it's not that. You need to expose yourself to the things that are in contradiction to your insecurities so that you can become brave enough to face them more often.
That's really encouraging.
To face them in bigger ways that really cut against your insecurities. Start small, and then you'll be able to work towards kind of these bigger ways that you're overcoming your insecurities. Obviously, there are two different things there, fear and insecurity, but I think the same principle applies, where it's exposure and it's becoming bigger than your insecurity, growing past your insecurity.
Because it's probably not going to go away.
No, it's probably not going to go away.
But you can build upon, sorry to interrupt you, I just love what you're saying, that you can build upon your courage or your confidence to say, yes, I'm insecure in this area, but I've worked past it multiple times and I can do it again and I can do it again and I can do it again.
Yeah.